Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 2 minutes to 1. We will just give it another 2 or 3 or 5 minutes, and then I will start. So if you can just hang in there with us. I hope you're all well today. Let's just give it a few more minutes, then we'll start. Okay, we'll wait another 2 minutes, just for those who might still struggle to get on, and then we'll start. Okay, thank you for uh, attending today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, making time. I know you all have a very busy schedule, and we will also be recording the session. I will make the recording available to everybody who registered, so that we can also distribute that. We will do some questions and answers in about 40 minutes. The last 10 or so minutes, we can do open for questions and answers. Okay, so this is our first training session. We're going to do this every month. You will also receive every month by email our newsletter. In the newsletter, the session will be announced and the topic of discussion and training. This is essentially focused on our subscriber base currently on our platform to assist you to understand what is used for what, and also to show you new functionality as we keep on developing new functionality and develop new capability based on the requirements of a user base. So if there is anything that you find on the platform while you're working with it that either you think can be done better or that you are missing, that you have a need for, you're more than welcome to please let me know, and we'll put it on our roadmap so that we can give you the capabilities that you need to manage your compliance. Today's focus is actually on the compliance framework, a very important part of the platform, which I have not exposed to you yet, but you will see that in the last week, the information regulator actually announced a few sectors that they will now start auditing. It will probably be a request for some evidence from the regulator in the form of a letter or a mail that will email to you. And one of the things that they specifically ask on there is a compliance framework. So today's focus is actually on that. Okay. But for those of you who might be new, I'll also just briefly show the system. Also, for those of you who already subscribed, I want to show the new look and feel, because we've changing the look and feel a little bit to make it look a little bit better and easier to work with. So give me 1 sec, and I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, all right. So let's go there first. Okay, so new look and feel, as I said, this is what it will look like. Next time you go to, you can just go to iosas.co.za and you will end up on this page. Doesn't matter where you go. You can then say, okay, I'm already signed on, registered. I just want to sign into my account. If you are not registered, you can go down here and you can actually register. Everything is here for you to register for all capabilities and so on. I'm not going to handle that now, but you're welcome to go to iosas and check that out. Okay, so for now, I'm going to sign in. This is just a test account that we use to demonstrate with. You can all hear me okay? If you can just click there, maybe the thumbs up if you can. Just want to make sure you can hear me. Anybody? Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so once you log onto the system as a first time, you've never used the system before, you will always receive these communication notifications that pop up when you sign on. This one, in this case, because this test user has done literally nothing yet, it will tell you, okay, let's first get you compliant. Let's first go and complete a few things for you. You can go straight to get started from here, and it will here tell you, what should I do now? In this case, the foundational setup is 0% complete. For those of you who haven't seen the system before, you can then follow the wizard here. First, do your entity registration. Yeah, you can either, if you already have registered, upload your registration certificate or ask us to register for you. Once you ask us to register, we will register, upload your certificate here. You will find your certificate there. Also, one of the things that the regulator asks now on the audits, which you can then download as and when required. And then also your information here, you'll have an update button to update anything you update here, we will pick up on and update for you on the regulator. Okay, this includes your entity, information officers, and deputy information officers if you have. So then the other thing that you are used to now is PAIA. From a PAIA point of view, again, a PAIA manual, if you have one, you upload your PAIA manual. If you don't, you ask us, we compile it for you. It automatically appears here. These are the guides. So the legislation say over and above your PAIA manual, you have to supply a PAIA guide in 2 languages of your choice. These are publications from the regulator. We made them available here. Access requests is one of the registers we will talk about. Annual reporting is also here. We will do the annual reporting. You will just get a notification every year once the annual reporting is done. Okay, so we'll talk about some other capabilities on the system a bit later. For now, let's go to the compliance framework. What is a compliance framework? Might be the question. Okay, so let me first explain what a compliance framework is. Why do you have to have a compliance framework? First of all, in the legislation, in the regulations of POPIA, it explicitly states that the information officer must develop, implement, and maintain a compliance framework. It doesn't really explain in the legislation what a compliance framework is, but a compliance framework is basically the tools that you will use to manage your compliance. To use an example, if you think about a school, how does a school manage or govern a school? It governs it by school rules. Okay, if you're a child there, or people at the school, you have to follow the written school rules. They're not verbal rules. You're not told once a year, this year you can do that, you should not do that, you cannot do that. It's not verbal rules. Now, in compliance, we have exactly the same. The first condition for lawful processing state that there is a accountability responsibility on you as a responsible party, where you have to ensure that all the conditions for lawful processing are met when you're processing personal information. And the regulator in his audit is now asking you for a compliance framework to prove that you actually have something, the rules, the school rules, that you implement and maintain and execute in your business to ensure that the conditions for lawful processing are happening. We always say regulators are not interested when they audit. They don't want your intent. You can tell the regulator when they audit you, no, but we told everybody they must do that, they shouldn't do that, and this is how they should. The regulator will say, we're only interested in proof, and proof, evidence and proof of process. So that's why you have to have a compliance framework. Okay, so essentially compliance frameworks in the POPIA world consist of your policies, your procedures, your registers, and your controls that you use to manage the adherence to POPIA. We made it on the system very easy. So if you have policies, you can upload your own policies into the framework. If you don't, the system will generate everything for you. The system starts off, if you're the first time you're going to go onto this module, it's going to ask you which of these best describes your practice. Okay, in this case, I'm going to just use the example of a normal GP specialist. Then it's going to ask you some questions. Does your business treat clients under 18? Yes, mostly. Does your business use a practice management system, a digital system? Yes. Does your business have 2 or more staff? Yes. And then it says, okay, now generate my compliance framework. You'll see it takes a moment and it creates an entire compliance framework for you, which consists of, as I said, policies, procedures, your controls, your registers, and your forms and templates. Okay, so some of the stuff you've already used, like the register for PAIA, where you log PAIA requests and the reporting drives from it. and I'll show you today all the other stuff. But let's start at the beginning. Okay, so here it says your policies, procedures, controls, and templates generated for your practice from your profile. You review and approve everything, and we keep it current and tell you when something needs a second look at. One of the other things that the system will ensure is that it will tell you when you need to review policies. Best practice in any business is you don't create a policy once and it lives like that forever. You have to review it every year because the world changes. Sometimes legislation changes. There are some new rules and you have to implement it in your policy. That's why policies normally have an annual review date. The system here will automatically tell you what needs to be reviewed based on the creation date and the approval date of a certain policy procedure and so on. Okay, let's start with some policies just to show you. So if I go to policies, the system generates 5 policies that by default are essential. You can always add additional policies here, as you can see there on the top. Currently, all of them needs review because the system created it and want to check with you if you're okay with the content. So let's do the first one. Let's look at the first policy there. If you open it, you can then read through the policy. It's got a revision history, review history, review schedule, and so on. And then you can go and read through the content. It's got obviously a sign-off part, preamble, scope, definitions. And then if you go down, there's the responsibilities, who's responsible. These policies that we generate have content based on legislation, researched, so it should be covering everything that you need to do, and you can actually go and read through it. Just to quickly show you everything that's in here. There's all the different sections that we have made, and there's the references that this is referring to and where the content comes out. Okay, from. Then you have an option to say, okay, no, I want to edit this. And you can see there's the review frequency that you can see on the top. You can choose, I want to review it when, and so on. These are all the checklist points. So for every section in a policy, we have a checklist, a specific point that we use, and I'll show you now how that is used. Then there's the document structure. And then I can go and say, let's add another section here. We call it release section. And then if I go down here to the bottom, we should be able to see another section. My goodness, how big is this policy? Okay, so right here at the bottom, you will see then if I save it, another section, and when you type in the information, there it is. Rudy sections 22, Rudy section, and you put in your own information there. You can then refer to the source, and you can build your own policy like this. Okay, if you don't like a point, you can delete it. Okay, if you're then done with this, you like it, you can then save the changes, and you can approve it, store it. If you don't like the policy that we have supplied, you can say, no, I want to upload and check my own. So I can choose a file quickly here. I'm just going to use any document here. Let's use that document. Let's use that booklet as an example. Then it gives you the ability to say, please check this document for me. Does it actually have a relevant points in that it should be in this type of policy according to the Act? You can then say, analyze this policy. It will use AI. Oh, that's not too big of a document. I should have chose the smaller document. Oh, it comes back. And it says, your document is missing 14 of the 22 required points. Okay, so then you can say, okay, that's fine. Oh, so it actually found some points in your policy. That's fine. And then you can say, okay, now, wait, I'll review and re-upload my document and fix all this. Or you can say, no, it's fine. Use my file as I uploaded it. It's fine. Okay, so we give you the capability to do both. Either you upload your own or you use the system. If you want to do a new one, you can then go here. Let's just see if we can create a new one. Add the additional policy. And the policy builder then allows you to, again, same. You can upload your own, or you can actually build it from scratch using this. Let's call this release test. I want to quarterly review this one. I will say, no, build this from scratch. Okay, and then I can edit it. And again, same here. Now it gives me, I can easily create the whole policy using the policy builder. Okay, so just to make it easy for you to create your own policies. Okay, and then save, and then you can approve it. In this case, let's just go back to our policies. Once you have now looked at this policy, you can say, no, I've made my changes. I want to approve and store it. You can now see it says generated from a standard policy under reviews. It's already approved, and it says it's approved and stored. You can then see there's version 1. My name is there. It records that the version history work. Also, and it says the next review date is actually that date. You should also be able to see the next review date here, 19th of August in 2027. And by the 19th of August, if you come to the dashboard here, you will actually see on the overview, it will appear here, needs a review. Okay, so that is the policies and the way that you can then use the policies to build, first of all, this latest system auto-populated, and then use whatever you want to use from what we've built, and add your own. Procedures, again, the same thing. Procedures works exactly like you saw the policies working, works exactly the same. Same concept. You either open it, you look at it, and then you can edit it, approve it, or upload your own, exactly the same concept. What I didn't show you on the policies is, let's say you now have to distribute that policy maybe to your staff. You can then open the policy, download it as a PDF. Then let's just open it. So we should see it there at the top. It automatically creates a document for you. And there's my company name on the top, tells me what the policy is. It is version 1. All the information is in there. There's everything that you see in the policy, just in a nice document format, automatically created it for you from whatever you created with your policy builder. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, the other two things that's very important. So we've got policies, our procedures of how we do it. These are the rules. These are the how we do it. The controls. Let me show you the controls. So let me just go here. Security controls are controls that you have to check and review and make sure these things are in place. Here again, the system will help you. It will build it automatically. It will then ask you to go and review them, show you which ones have gaps. So let's say access and passwords. So why this is good, it sort of forces you to go and think about certain things to ensure they actually happen, they are in place. In this case, it says multi-factor authentication. Is extra login verification enabled for high risk and administrator access? System asks us just to verify it. We can then look at it. We can then check it out. We can upload the evidence if we have evidence that it does happen. And then we can actually say that it is implemented and verified and save it. And that's, again, how we build the controls. You can now see it will then say it's verified. And then again, this one will force you to review it every now and then. So that we keep on looking at the controls we've got in place from a security perspective specifically. Even with paper records, it will build everything for you that you need to manage and review on a constant manner that you can actually review that. It will also only build the controls that's appropriate to you. So before you get here, the same like you saw previously with a wizard, it will ask you a few questions. It will only build the controls that applicable to what you answer, so that we don't give you backup and recovery. If you use a system that you're not hosting, you're not responsible for backup and recovery. So the system will create the appropriate controls that you need. Okay, so that is the controls. The other part of a system that's very important is the registers. Okay, so let's talk about registers. Registers are exactly what they say. They give us the ability to record events, whatever these events are. Now, in POPIA, there are a few registers that are very important, as you can see here. The legislations say you have to have a processing activity register. Why? Because the regulator argues, if you don't know what you have, how can you know what you need to protect? It's an inventory of information that we do process, personal information, and that's what this register show us. And then the legal basis register works hand in hand with that. It says, we've got this personal information. The reason why we are allowed to process it is based on this legal basis. Now, it is a bit more technical, but again, the system here helps us to make it easy. The first time we get to this, let me just quickly show you here. So if I now, first day, it shows you this. It says, we have to build this. It requires every business to keep a record of what personal information it handles and why. This is that records. It's usually the first thing a regulator order asks to see, because if you don't know what you've got, how can you say you protect it? So again, the system assists you to quickly build this. So it explains what is this register, what QuickStart does for you, and what we need from you. Okay, no legal knowledge required. Okay, most activities, you as a practice manager, information officer, know what your practice does. So here you say, let's start. Okay, what kind of business? I'm a medical practice. Then it asks you, in your medical practice, these are the activities we normally find in a medical practice that we think you do. Can you tick them or untick the ones that you don't? Patient registration, yes, we do that. Appointment management, yes, we do that. Patient billings, specialist referrals, prescriptions, data management, employee recruitment, payroll, supplier administration. No, we don't have a website. I'm going to untick that. Marketing, we don't do marketing. Okay. Now, we say, fine, that's what we want to add. These are our activities. And then it says, okay, perfect. Now we're ready to confirm it. Can you look at these? We've built it for you. Can you look at them and see if you think it looks fairly right? So here it says, this is the activity, patient registration. Why are we allowed to do it? Because it is needed to provide the service or product that they ask for. And for everything that you see, the activity, there's a reason. That's your legal basis reason why you can process that that personal information. Okay, and then you can just say, yeah, that's fine. That looks right. I confirm it. You can also edit it. You can look at the content of it. Then when it says, it also indicates which of these includes sensitive health information. And then some of them will actually say, wait, but you know, here you said you're doing medical aid claims. So here we need a little bit more information. We need your input. It says claims process and schemes you work with confirm the legal reference, check any minimum information needed is shared. Okay, let me edit this. Okay, what does it need here? It tells me why this needs to look at. You must when you read that, and it tells you, okay, we suggest this legal basis contract. And then you say, okay, yeah, that is the legal basis. Why we do that? Use this legal basis. Go to next. And we just go through the wizard of that specifically one until we confirm. And again, now it's fine. And we can say it's done. It looks right. We can file it. And as you file it, it will then obviously be here. It says that one is active. Legal basis is contract. You'll see there's some other ones that it will be different as it suggested it until you've built it and confirmed it. Don't have to do it from scratch. It builds it automatically. Okay, so that is your processing activity register. Legal basis register is built automatically for you based on these legal bases. You can also go and edit it and add your own legal bases over and above the ones that's provided. Operator register, very important. This is the third parties who are doing processing on your behalf as a responsible party. So let me quickly show you what that looks like. I'm just going to show you from my mock-up quickly. So what is an operator register? It's a register where, again, we make sure we know who are the entities that we hand over personal information that are doing processing on our behalf. The regulator wants to ensure that you actually know who these people are and that you've got contracts in place with them and you have reviewed them. But not all people that you hand personal information over to are processing it, do some processing on your behalf. And that's what it also explains here. Not every third party is an operator. When you referring a patient to a specialist or another practice, is not an operator relationship. It's just a disclosure, and you've got another lock where you lock that. But here you add your operators, and when it listed here, you can see there's a whole bunch of operators. If you add a new operator, again, system makes it easy. It asks you what type of operator it is, goes through the motions, and eventually you have a whole register of your operators that you can keep on the record and prove that you actually know who they are. Very important on the operator. Let's open one of them. You can see there's also a review cycle because we must make sure we still have a contract with these people. We must make sure everything is still in place with them. There's a date and purpose. There's an agreement. We can even upload the agreement here. In some cases, it will be Google are not going to sign personally an agreement with your practice. They've got a standard addendum. Once you click on buying Google services, there are standard processing addendums that they can provide. And in their case, their data processing compliance is explained in that addendum and what they do with your stored data and how they secure it. So in some cases, you'll see that there's standard terms. In other cases, you'll see that there is a signed contract, like with you've got a practice management suite that you use for your managing your patient records. It's a supplier, it's a SaaS platform in the cloud, but you've got a contract with that company for the use of that system. And then you can obviously import the contract here. And again, here you can see the list of all these third parties operators that are doing something with your personal information on your behalf. Either they store it like Dropbox, they just store it. But storage is processing, and that's why we list them here as an operator. Okay, there's a whole bunch of them. So that is the operator register. So let's go and see what other registers we have here. We have also then a breach and security compromise register. So if anything happens, we have to add any incident, we have to record here. And it might be a simple thing such as someone sent the wrong information to the wrong patient. They send my information to someone else. We will lock it here, we'll investigate it. Okay, we've retracted it via email, Outlook. We can recall the email. There's no harm done, and we can close it. Some might be a data breach as an incident. Again, here we have to, when it's an incident, we have to lock it. We have to then let the data subjects know. We have to let the regulator know. Again, using the register to actually record all these things that happen. Okay, so let's just go back here to registers. Then we have obviously our POPIA and PAIA access request registers. If you have any request for POPIA or PAIA, POPIA will be more request for I call you and say, look, my email address has changed. Can you please change it? Then it would be quite dangerous to just say, okay, on the phone, okay, what must we change it to? And we just change it based on a phone call. We haven't verified, we cannot verify we're speaking to the right person. So the better way will be, no, it's fine. Can you send us, we'll send you a request form. We'll send you a form where you can ask for the change of that information. And when you tell us what you want to change, we've got proof of a request, and then we'll execute it based on that proven request. Okay, so that's where that would be a POPIA access request. Okay, consent register. There are a lot of practices that obviously have these consents in their patient file. That's fine. For those who want to maintain a consent register of other consents, such as marketing and so on, you can also use this register. Yeah, you can add manually the consent, or you can actually open it in a browser. You can add your own consent forms here at the bottom. You can then open it in a browser like this. The person can read the consent form, sign in his name, sign on the screen, submit it, and that consent will end up here, where you can then either print the document or download it, put it in another system. And you can also, if someone then retracts his consent, you can manage it here. So that's what the consent register will do. Okay, so let's go see if we can go to the other registers. That's a consent register. Complaints do exactly what we say it does. If someone complains in terms of privacy, you lock it here. Any complaint to your information officer, again, we record it. And then one of the other important registers is your training register. Whoever you train, record the training records here, so you have proof people have been trained, obviously in terms of POPIA and PAIA. Okay, so that is what I wanted to show you today in terms of our system. I'm going to stop sharing here, and you can open and unmute yourself and switch your camera on if you want to. I'm going to open the floor for questions. We've got 8 minutes left till 1:45. Can I ask anybody? Floor is open. Any questions? Any comments? Anybody just want to say hello?
Really?
Hello, Beryl.
Hi. What happens if we're retiring?
If you're retiring, so what happens then is we deregister you with the information regulator. There is a capability now to deregister entity, and based on either the entity went out of business or you're retiring.
Okay, so we'll just contact you on how to do that?
Yes, yeah, you can just contact me. I'll as quickly assist you. No problem.
Super, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so you're more than welcome. You all have my my email. If you have any issue with using the capabilities, the system will only be live in the next few days. I will send out another email before we put it live so that you're not surprised the next morning. Thank you, Debbie. I will put out the email again and warn you, it's going to go live this and this time or that and that day. And then at least you will expect it. And as I said, then once you start using it, please, if there's anything, let me know. If there's something we need to fix, we'll fix it. And yeah, I hope it will add value to your compliance efforts. As I said, I think we can all expect within the next year or so, the regulator is going to send us something that we need to prove that we're actually doing something correctly. Eileen?
Hi, if you are working as a consultant for a bigger company, can you incorporate this into their company, and will they be able to allow it to their IT?
Yes, they can actually implement this on their own company. So any entity in their own right is a responsible party, and they need to obviously be POPIA compliant and be able to prove everything that we spoke about here. But you,
for
absolutely.
Example, you know, the company that I consult to, I hope that their HR is compliant, but I want to make sure that the clinic that I run is compliant. So can I take this to them and say, right, this is what I want for my clinic? You can integrate it however you need into your bigger IT service.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
you can, you're more than welcome to me. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. One of the areas I didn't even mention it, you know, people always think about POPIA in terms of the patient information, but the employee information is just as important because you also collected personal information from your employees, and the same rules apply. That's why that question pops up when you build your framework. Do you have employees? Because there are policies then in HR that guides our compliancy to POPIA in terms of our information that we hold on employees and process on employees.
Yeah, because they hand in, for example, all their sick notes. They get processed there first, then they come to me. Don't like it, but that's the way it's done. So obviously I want to incorporate that into the whole area. But thank you so much. It's really been most informative. Really appreciate it.
No, it's a big pleasure, and thank you so much for attending. Anyone else? Thank you, Eileen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, then we're going to close the session. Expect an email from me with a recording. You'll be able to download it. I'll send you the link. And don't be scared to contact me if you need help. Have a lovely afternoon. Thank you for joining our session. Goodbye.